Welcome to the Last Frontier Perspective, where we bring you the latest news and insights from Alaska and beyond, whether it's the issues shaping life here in the 49th state or broader developments impacting the U.S. We deep dive into the stories that matter, from Alaskan politics to national headlines and everything in between. This is your one-stop source for staying informed on the events that shape our world. So grab a seat, stay warm, and join me as we explore the frontier of news, where every story has a unique perspective. Let's get started. Look at this article from the Wall Street Journal Tim Pool shared today. The rural areas pushing for divorce from Democratic cities. Watseka, Illinois, Phil Joja loves his small city 90 miles south of Chicago, with its rebounding downtown, historic homes, and welcoming churches. Yet he has been tempted to join the steady exodus of friends and fellow business owners leaving for lower-taxed Republican-controlled states like Indiana and Tennessee. We also saw a ton of that with Texas and Florida in the last few years. Places like, X, Elon Musk, Alex Jones, all kinds of people moving from their original state to Texas or Florida for better taxes and just more freedom in general, especially after COVID. With all the lockdowns and everything, it just became a huge red flag if you were a business owner living in one of these cities that would just happily shut down your business because somebody's caught the coof. He goes on to say, if you like where you live, but you don't like Illinois, what do you do? Asked the 43-year-old owner of a video production company. One answer: help Watseka divorce Illinois. I think that's how I'm pronouncing it. Watseka?
Watseka.
Look at this sign. Vote yes. Illinois separation referendum. A burgeoning breakup movement is gaining momentum across Illinois, California, and other states where vast swaths of red rural counties are dominated by a few blue cities. Now let's switch over to this Illinois election results for 2024. As you can see, here we got every single county outside of just a couple blue blocks. I mean, literally, it's just there's Chicago, Rockford, just a couple. There's just barely any, and this whole state went to Kamala. Like, I would have to sit here and count, but there are easily 7 to 10 times the amount of red counties that there are blue counties. If you're living in one of these red counties, your entire political world is decided by some guy who lives in a city. The rural versus urban divide is huge in these states. Luckily, we don't have to deal with that so much up here in Alaska yet, but it's becoming an issue with Anchoragites and Juneau becoming more and more of a dominant political force when it comes to our elections. Just look how close we came on our elections. I mean, Donald Trump barely won by only a few points. I think it was 13.1% if memory serves. I'll go back to the article. More residents are pushing to break off and form new states, or as a group called New Illinois State, which has declared itself independent from actual Illinois, and last weekend passed the first draft of the new Constitution, puts it, leave Illinois without moving. JoJo was among the 73% of voters in predominantly rural Illinois County who, on Election Day, backed the idea of forming a new state with every Illinois county except Cook, home to Chicago, and more than 40% of the state's population. The non-binding resolution also passed in 6 other counties, bringing the total to 33 of Illinois' 102 counties. There's a lot of people in Chicago, and I think that they make a lot of decisions that affect people downstate, said Georgia, who doesn't expect a new Illinois soon. It's just sending a message that, hey, there's people who would like to be part of the conversation who often aren't. Then we can skip a little bit here. They just go on to say that Donald Trump is divisive and blah, blah, blah. As for the wannabe breakaway counties, a divorce could get messy. Becoming new states would require the consent of the existing legislators, extremely unlikely in most blue states, as well as Congress, according to Article 4, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution. That has only happened a handful of times, including the formation of Kentucky with the consent of Virginia, and the founding of Maine, which was once part of Massachusetts. Anyway, they go on, blah blah blah, but long story short, nothing's going to happen here, at least not for the time being. There's no new state that's going to form. It is nice, though, to see rural folk starting to stand up and say enough's enough of these oppressive systems that have been developed in their states, where cities control the entirety of the political conversation for a landmass that's hundreds of times larger than just that city alone. City folk seem to have the weird idea that the world revolves around them, even though they're entirely supported by farmland and resources that rural folk hand to them, whether it be water rights or food or what have you, factories. Cities, honestly, in this day and age with the internet, don't produce that much. Like, obviously they still do, their GPD is high. It's just with the internet, you can work most of the jobs you can work in a city in a rural area, and that's why we're seeing a lot of people move from cities out to rural areas, and those areas are starting to turn more blue. It's just the dynamic that once existed where you had to live right beside somebody in order to, help your company. It's not true anymore. You don't need to live right beside somebody because they produce something that you need for your company. You can just order that stuff now. Sure, it might make it easier for meetings or whatever, but we have Zoom. I don't know, cities are dying. And I hope that as rural areas get more power, they really put the screws to the cities and destroy those terrible, terrible places where human souls go to die. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you very much, and I will see you shortly.